Hello, this is Amy Wheeler, and I'm starting over with my Facebook Live because I always feel like beginnings should be auspicious. And when I start off a talk that in such a difficult way, I think, uh-oh, I don't want this. So anyway, I hope you're back on with me. And today we're going to be talking about depression. And as I was saying before, it's very interesting because, if you believe the Dalai Lama that each human birth is very precious and we are here to, experience this precious human birth, we really need to figure out how to help people with their depression, because going through life feeling like you don't want to be here and feeling like there's no meaning and no purpose and that it's always going to be like that. I think that's a big thing with depression is we feel down, we feel out, we feel burnt out, or whatever's causing our depression, but we project that forward that this is always going to be like this. And I think that's one of the things that we can help people work on is that it doesn't always have to be like this. It won't always be like this. And I think a lot of times when we have depression, we don't remember the good times. It's almost like we have a different lens, different glasses on, and we don't really remember, that there are good days, there are good times, there are people who love us. We have a skewed perception. So I want to take it all the way from the beginning and talk about how yoga therapy, even Ayurveda can help us with our depression in a complementary way. We always believe that there should be a primary care mental health professional that is there to kind of hold the case, and that we are complementary. We're going to help out in kind of a lifestyle management. That's the big thing that I think yoga therapy does for us, is it helps us with lifestyle management and structuring our lives in a way that give us less depression if we're prone to that. And the other thing is, I always like to tell people that people will need to stay on their medication. They'll need to stay on their drugs. It's not something like, oh, if you just do these things, you won't have to take your medication anymore. That's between the mental health care provider and the client or the student. If they decide to cut back on the medication or if they decide to change it in any way, that's their business. But we have things that we can do to help with that lifestyle medicine. So the first thing I want to talk about with respect to having a mental health care provider possibly kind of hold the case, especially in the case of really deep depression, is that depression can show up as kind of a trait or a disposition that you have traveling down through your genetic code, through your family, or through your ancestral history. It can also be a result of trauma as a young child. So these are more serious types of depression that definitely are going to need a healthcare provider involved. You may actually have a biochemical imbalance. You may have had such trauma that it's very difficult for you to do the work on your own without the help of different healthcare providers. So when it's a long term, it's been going on since you were very young, that's the one that I worry most about, because it does seem hopeless. It seems like there's no future. It seems like it's not going to be able to change, or it may be caused by like an early childhood event, that those feelings that happened during that original event never got digested and processed, and as a result, we still carry those feelings and sensations with us all day, every day. And when that happens, of course, it skews our perception. And, one of the really interesting things about yoga philosophy is that we say your perception determines what you see. So if you have these hooks in your mind and your neuroplasticity that say, I'm going to be abused, I'm going to be taken advantage of, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, nobody likes me. If you have all those hooks kind of stuck in your mind from childhood, it's going to be very difficult for you, because that's actually what you're looking out through the lens to see in the world, and you're unconsciously looking for evidence that those things are true. And so just to help someone realize that not all of your thoughts are true. You can't believe all of your thoughts. You can't believe all of your emotions and your feelings. That sometimes these are just the residue left over from trauma, and that they do skew your perspective and your perception, and that it's okay if you say to yourself, wow, this is how I'm feeling, but really there may or may not be any truth to what I'm feeling. I know that sounds kind of a little bit strange, but that's a big part of what we do, is we help people, understand that just because you're feeling a certain way, just because you're thinking certain things, doesn't mean it will always be like this, and it doesn't mean that it's even true. It's just you experiencing your perception of reality. So that's how I want to start out, is that one of the big strengths of yoga philosophy is for us to get clarity, for us to take off the old lenses that are left over from our childhood, are left over from our abuse, are left over from our trauma, and understand that where you are today may or may not be anything like that original situation, and that it's okay for you to come into the present moment and really look at what you have right here, right now. Look at, do you have food? Do you have shelter? Do you have people who care about you? Do you have education? Do you have any life purpose or meaning? Are there ways you can contribute to society? Are there ways that you can contribute to humanity that will make you feel good in the present moment? So I think that's a big part of what I like to do with people, is kind of broaden their perspective instead of poor me, I'm miserable, I'm lonely, almost a, I don't want to say, I don't know how to say this politically correctly, but basically sometimes when we're depressed, it's all about me. It's all about how come my needs aren't met and how come I'm sad. And I like to try to help people understand that you are a part of this whole system. You are part of the world. You are part of the universe. You are one with everyone, and you just don't realize it. And so getting people to kind of change that perspective over time, it takes time for people to accept this. And, one of the things I was talking to a student about yesterday was, he was basically telling me, I'm worthless, I'm unhappy, nobody likes me, I'm always angry, I have these terrible anger flashes. This is actually one of my students, not for yoga, but in another sector of my life. And he basically said that he got something out of holding on to all those ideas about himself. I said, well, what is that? What are you getting from holding so tightly onto those ideas? And he basically said, it's safe, it's comfortable, it's what I've always known. He said, if I venture out into hope, if I venture out into wanting something better, more connection, more joy, he said, what if I don't get it? What if I fail? So he really didn't even want to take the risk, because what he knew was safe. He had always had that. It was the way he knew how to live. And if he worked towards something else, he wasn't sure that he could live that way or embrace that lifestyle. And he didn't want to fail. So, what Ashley is saying here is so beautiful. Fear is the underlying issue. Yeah, I think a lot of times fear is the underlying issue, Ashley. I think that's profound. The Yoga Sutras tell us that fear is a big deal. Fear is like the roots of the tree that are feeding all of the misperception and the mental imbalance. So how do we help people deal with that? How do we help them understand that a big part of life is taking chances and falling on your face and risking things and looking like an idiot, and that's really the only way to go forward, right? I know that I take a lot of risks in my life, and I fail a lot, and I learn a lot of lessons from that, and it's fine. It's fine. We all fail. We all have problems. We all have times where we're not at our best. This particular last month of my life, I've been at maybe 50% capacity. And I'm just being gentle with myself and forgiving myself and just saying, this is where I'm at right now. Oh, well, it's not perfection. That's for damn sure. So anyway, kind of going back to, depression, it can be more of a trait-like thing from early childhood, from DNA, from ancestral history, from, just your basic disposition, how you move in the world. But we all go through little periods of depression, which I'm going to call state. I use the psychological terms because my history is in psychology. State or situation is where there's an event that has happened. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe you had a breakup with someone. A lot of times it does have to do with loss, which is very interesting because the Yoga Sutra talks a lot about this ability to have vairagyam, to let go or to surrender, and this ability to be okay with what you have right here in this very moment. Not get too far ahead, not get too far behind, just to have santosha or contentment with what is right here, right now. And if you've had grief, if you've had a loss of some sort, to allow yourself that time to just be where you need to be and let it move through you. I read this beautiful article by Elizabeth Gilbert, the author of Eat, Love, Pray. And it was an article I saw on Facebook yesterday about grief. And she said, you never know how it's going to come up, when it's going to come up, how it will express itself, how it will move through you, when it will leave. And it was just a really beautiful article, I thought, that I would say all of life is like this, whether it's grief or joy or bliss or whatever it is. We really don't know when it will arrive, how long it will stay, and when it will leave again. So I think when we have an event or a time of grieving, it's okay. So you feel depressed, let it be. It will move up and out and through you. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to, try to cover it up or push it through or anything like that. We just need to be gentle and tender and vulnerable with ourselves while it is moving through us. Now, if that grief, if that depression from some particular event that you have a lot of loss lasts for an extended period of time, right? So if 3 years later you're still having terrible, terrible depression because of the loss of a family member, well, then we might need an intervention. Then we might need to say, okay, this is going on a really long time, and it's not moving through, and maybe it needs some digestive help to move through. And that's where I think yoga therapy especially, can really help us figure out how to manage that loss or that grief and move into a new way of being in the world. Because now, when it's gone on too long, it has really turned into a habit or a samskara. And now that's your new way of being in the world instead of just a temporary state that you happen to be in. The other thing I want to say is sometimes people get what's called seasonal affective disorder, especially those of us that live in cold climates, who live up in the snow and, in the cold and in the winter when there's less light. Seasonal affective disorder is a real thing. It's a real thing that you're not seeing the sun. You're indoors, most of the day, and you're not getting that light coming towards you. A lot of times with seasonal affective disorder, I actually give people meditation on the sun, meaning during that time of the year, if you're having SAD or seasonal affective disorder, I'll actually give you chanting and meditation or something that fits, what you need. Maybe you're not into chanting, then I wouldn't give you chanting. but something that's going to help you kind of bring those qualities of the sun into your life and into your mind and into your body. Another thing that I see a lot of times with college students, a cause of depression or depressive-like symptoms is they have a very, very poor lifestyle, meaning they stay up way too late, they don't get enough good quality sleep, they eat really, really crappy food, a lot of processed food, uncooked food, these types of things, maybe even get constipated as a result. And they have way too much stress, and they don't know how to manage their stress. So a big thing that I do with college students is I try to get them, number one, into counseling, because I feel that they probably need a counselor also, but I try to get them off social media a little bit, as Ashley is suggesting on our chat, and everybody can feel free to chime in here, and I'll read your comments as they come through. But I try to talk to the kids about going to bed, I know it sounds crazy for a college student, by 10 p.m. and that their emotions are digested between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And that if you miss that window for emotional digestion while sleeping, you're not going to get it back. It doesn't happen later in the night. That's the time that we have our emotional digestion. So you can imagine, especially with depression, if it's around relationships, if it's around, things that you can't quite chew up and digest, sleep is really huge. So talking to them about starting to prepare for bed by about 9:30, whether they have a hot shower, where they have one last little warm snack to eat, turning off the electronics, try to get them in bed by 10, and then getting up with the sun. Getting up with the sun is a huge, huge deal for depression. And of course, the last thing they want to do is get up with the sun. But let me tell you, if you sleep in past that window of, around, I'd prefer to have them up by 6 a.m. I mean, I'm just going to say it. I know that's not possible for some people, but I would like to have them up early. If you let them sleep past a certain time, they're going to feel lethargic and tired and sleepy and depressed all day long. And people are actually quite astounded that when they get up earlier at a certain time of day, and of course, yogis, you know the cycles of the day and why this works, but if you have them get up early, they have more energy all day long. And they can't quite understand it because they say, wait a minute, I'm getting less sleep, but I have more energy. And I think that's true with a lot of people who have depression, that laying around, taking naps, sleeping too many hours worsens their depression. How can we get you up between 6 and 7 a.m., maybe even earlier, and get you moving first thing in the morning? This is a tall call for someone with depression, but it's exactly the antidote they need. It's the first thing I start with, is I got to get you in bed at a decent hour, get you digesting those emotions through the night, get up at a time when the sun is coming up, and move your little butt. Now, you can imagine the success I have with this when I tell a depressed person you need to get up and move in the morning. It's the last thing they want to do. And it's what they need to do. I don't even have major symptoms of depression, but if I don't work out first thing in the morning and do a yoga practice with some vinyasa and sweat a little bit, I have a bike and a treadmill and all this stuff at my house, because if I don't do that first thing in the morning, I feel lethargic, tired, and depressed all day long. So it's one of those tough love things when they say, oh, I can't get up that early, and oh, your expectations are too high, and oh, you don't understand what it's like to be me. I say, yeah, and you still got to do it anyway. I think sometimes when there's depression, you have to use a little hot poker, meaning poke somebody with a hot iron and say, too bad. Do you want to stay depressed the rest of your life? Do you want to be like this in the world? Well, if not, you have to get up and do something. And it sounds a little bit mean to poke them like that and to challenge them like that. But, on some level, they need the fire in their life. They need the fire. That is the antidote to the depression. They need someone that's going to push them to get out of their comfort zone, to get off the couch, to get up early and to work out. Ashley is saying, I think working out with friends is really important. I would completely agree. Get somebody to meet you at the gym. Get somebody to go for a walk with you in the morning, a power walk for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. That idea of Sangha and connection, you hit so many birds with one stone. Number one, you're working out. Number two, your friend's going to be really mad if you don't show up, and they did. And number three, you get heart-to-heart connection with someone while working out. How much better could it get? That is going to alleviate your depression too. We know that community building and connecting with people and feeling loved is a big part of alleviating depression. So if you can get someone who's going to meet you at the gym, take classes with you, get on the treadmill and walk and talk for an hour, or go hiking together, or whatever it is, that's going to be a huge, huge part of alleviating your depression and getting more social connection, right? When you get social connection, it kind of resets everything in your body. Even your nervous system gets reset when you have this social connection. So maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's your kid. I don't care who you are going to exercise with in the morning, but find a way to get some exercise in the morning. And don't make excuses. I'm sorry, like I said, in this talk, I'm a little bit harsh. I'm a little bit like a little hot poker saying, look, life is too short to be depressed, and only you can do something about it. When I get depressed, I poke myself and say, okay, Amy, you didn't work out this morning, and now you're complaining that you're depressed. Do something about it, right? So the poor lifestyle, especially with the college students, but all of us too, eating processed foods is not going to help. And sugar, you guys know this, sugar is a huge depressant. When we eat sugar, and I don't mean fruit sugar, I mean processed sugar, we crash. Sodas, sugar make all of us feel very, very depressed. So cutting sugar out is a huge thing. And along with the sugars, and this is going to be very upsetting to some people with depression, alcohol. Alcohol is a depressant. You may think it makes you feel better temporarily, and it gives you a high, and you're funnier, and you're more lovable for a few hours while you're drinking. But the ultimate effect of alcohol is that it is going to put you into depression. So again, one of the biggest things that we talk about is how much are you drinking? If you're depressed, are you drinking every night? Are you having a glass of wine? Are you having a couple of beers every night? That is not going to help depression. So again, yogic and Ayurvedic lifestyle changes can really help us to understand, how it is that we can change our experience in the world. And one of the things we have to figure out is, well, then what am I going to drink when I'm making dinner if I'm not going to have a glass of wine? Am I going to have some, I like to have cherry juice. Cherry juice is very potent. It tastes a little bit like wine. I put it in a wine glass, and it's a really nice treat to have when I'm cooking. So you might have to find some other options, like kombucha is another one that has a nice little kick to it and makes you feel like you're having something special while you're cooking. If you like that, evening glass of wine or even a beer. You could have a non-alcoholic beer if you really wanted that kind of flavor, that bitter flavor. So alcohol is going to be out, you guys. If you're depressed, alcohol must go. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? I also want to talk about how sometimes what's causing the depression is actually burnout. It's that you've been so productive and so anxious and working so hard for so long that you crash down into depression. And that's not what I would call true depression. That is just burnout. That just means you're depleted. You need to take time to re-energize, renew, refresh. That's not something that I would tell you. You need to, make all these lifestyle changes. I would say you need more self-care. So yesterday afternoon, I was kind of feeling burnt out just like that. And I had a lot of work to do. I had a whole bunch of things that I wanted to get done for work, but I wasn't feeling motivated. I wasn't feeling happy. I wasn't feeling like, oh, I want to do this project. And I thought, well, how we do the project and how well it's done is very reflective of my attitude and mood and feelings while I'm creating that project or that curriculum. So I decided to take the afternoon off yesterday and go do something fun and treat myself a little bit and go out for a little adventure, knowing that I didn't get the work done, but when I do the work, it's going to be of much higher quality because my nature comes through my work. And if I am feeling good and happy and inspired and creative, that's what's going to come through when I write this curriculum, as opposed to deadened and lethargic and grouchy and tired and burnt out. That also can come through as I create this curriculum. So sometimes it's not that you're truly depressed, it's that you're burnt out and you need to do very nourishing things like take baths and go for a hike in nature and treat yourself to a special meal, or go do something that you find really fun, or spend time with family and friends. And that will cure the burnout, which will take away some of those depressive symptoms. The other type of depression is more what I've been talking about today, which is there truly is a very heavy feeling in your body and in your mind of I'm not okay, I don't feel well, I don't feel connected, I'm down, I'm depressed. It has nothing to do with burnout. I can't get myself off the couch kind of thing. I'm not engaged in my life, right? So that's the main type that I'm talking about today. But I did want to mention the anxiety-based depression because it's actually a completely different treatment plan that you would do if it's anxiety-based depression, meaning more self-care, more self-nourishment for that type. For the down in the dumps, lethargic, just my body feels heavy, my mind feels heavy, I feel slow, I can't get up, I can't motivate myself to do anything. That's different. Like I said, we're going to want to get up with the sun, which means you have to go to bed a little bit earlier. We're going to exercise first thing in the morning. And I personally am one that thinks cardiovascular exercise is really important. Even if it's just 15 or 20 minutes and you just burst a little bit of sweat. I truly feel that that little bit of sweat, especially for depression, and that little bit of body heat that you get through cardiovascular exercise is really good. Of course, you could get it through sun salutations or, some type of yoga practice. But oftentimes in yoga practice, either some part of your body isn't healthy enough to work that hard, meaning you have a bad low back, so you can't do sun salutations, right? If that's the case, I tell people just get out there and walk. Get out, especially in nature. That's a whole nother thing, exercising in nature, because it gets you out of that, what I was saying earlier. I didn't want to say the word self-absorbed, but that's kind of what it is. It sounds not so friendly, but when I say self-absorbed, I just mean that the focus is, why do I feel this way? Life is so hard. Poor me. I can't get out of this. Those types of thoughts. That's what I mean by self-absorbed. Not that you think you're so amazing, because usually when you're depressed, you don't think you're amazing, but that the focus is on you. And I think somehow getting out into nature helps you understand that there's something way, way, way bigger than you out there, and that you are part of this larger thing that we call life. And I think it's really important to look at a 400-year-old pine tree and to look up at the stars in the middle of the night while sitting on your front steps wondering what's up there. I think that it's really good to get your focus out and up and seeing what a wonderful world this is. Like I said, you have, according to the Dalai Lama, this precious human birth. What are you going to do with it? And realizing that you are part of something larger. You just need to step into that flow of the river instead of standing on the sidelines and kind of saying, poor me, what's wrong with me? So I have Michelle Early says, what if I have a broken foot and a dislocated shoulder? Oh, see, this is the hard part. I think when we have body parts that aren't working, it's very, very difficult to get exercise to help with the depression. And I'm in the same boat, Michelle. I've had a torn meniscus in my knee since July, and I usually work out a lot, and I've had to really tailor my workouts because of this torn meniscus. There's not a lot of things I can do. So I have been on the bike. I have made my own little exercise routines with they're not necessarily yoga. It's a faster version of what I usually do for yoga. Things that can make me sweat a little bit. I have a little Pilates machine at my house, so I do all sorts of Pilates exercises. I do weightlifting with the parts of my bodies that can do weightlifting. I just know for me, if I don't have exercise every day, in addition to my yoga practice, then I'm going to be depressed. There's no doubt about it. So I think in terms of exercise, you're going to have to get really creative and find the body parts you can work and do the best that you can do. And it's not easy. If your right shoulder is broken, maybe you can only work with your left arm, that kind of thing. Another thing that I would say, general guidelines that will really help with most forms of depression is breathing. And Yvonne has mentioned this on our chat, that there's a lot of breathing activities that you can do that will really help lift your spirits, lift your mood, lift your mind. I would do things maybe like Palabati breathing, assuming you don't have any contraindications like heart problems, that type of thing. So we call it breath of fire, right? Except you're exhaling through your nose. So that's something that a yoga teacher or a yoga therapist could help you learn. Also, all sorts of inhalation-based pranayama ratios, where you maybe put your arms up and inhale, hold for 1 to 2 seconds at the top, and then exhale, right? So there's all sorts of breath ratios you can work with that can help to lift your spirits. There are also different types of pranayama techniques or breathing techniques that you can use, like one in our tradition is called Viloma Ujjayi, where you inhale through the left nostril, exhale through both, inhale through the right nostril, exhale through both. And again, you'd want a qualified yoga teacher or therapist to teach you these breathing exercises. But I think especially in a situation that Michelle was talking about when she has a broken shoulder and a broken foot, well, now you have to get really creative on other ways to lift your spirits if you're not able to get that exercise that you usually get. So Anuloma Ujjayi, breath of fire, inhalation-based pranayama ratios would all be very, very good for lifting your spirits and lifting your mood. What else? I'm looking over here at my list. Just like last week, I make a little list when I get started. I think making sure that you do not eat processed foods. I already said not a lot of sugar, right? That's for sure. But processed foods, anything that comes in a package, if you're depressed, you don't want to eat that. You want to eat fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, lean proteins, good high quality fats. That's really what you want to eat. And, fibrous grains. And just make sure your diet is right. I think diet has a huge, huge impact on our depression. And the more processed foods we eat, and the more we eat that, basically are preservatives to hold them in that plastic package, well, those same preservatives hold them in our bodies long term. So, it's all about eating fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, lean proteins, high quality fats, and fibrous grains. I think I told some of you on Facebook this week that my university has a brand new dining center that for $6 you can get all that you want to eat, and everything is fresh. It's prepared for you. There's a beautiful salad bar. There's fresh homemade soups. There's all sorts of amazing food there, and it's actually changed my life. It's only been 4 weeks, but it's changed my life because I don't have to think about in the morning, how am I going to have a fresh, hot cooked meal at 11:30 in the morning between teaching classes, which is very, very difficult for me because I only have about 30 minutes. So finding a way to get your nutritional needs met is really, really huge when it comes to depression. We already talked about alcohol. That's out. Let's see. We talked a little bit about family and friends and the need to connect with them, which is a little bit tricky because when you're depressed, sadly, sorry to say this, you're not as much fun to be around. And so when you ask people to do things, if they think that they're going to have to basically pull you up out of the dumps every time they see you, they're going to be less likely to want to see you. So how is it that when you do see family and friends, you can almost fake it till you make it? You go there, you put a smile on, you try not to complain, you try to get in the flow of their energy, right? So they're not depressed, you're depressed. You want to jump into their energy instead of having them come down to your level. So I think that's really hard to do this thing, fake it till you make it, but it actually works. And there's a wonderful researcher from Harvard Business School called Amy Cuddy, and she wrote a lovely book called Presence. And in her research, she shows that within 2 minutes of faking it till you make it, you change the cortisol levels in your body, you change the testosterone levels in your body, that when you decide to just pretend as if and go with the flow and be that thing, that your hormones in your body actually change, even though you know you're faking it. Isn't that interesting? So when I say fake it till you make it, when you're with family and friends, just pretend you're having fun, pretend to smile, pretend to be in conversation. When you have a thought about complaining or something that you want to, be down about, just tell yourself, nope, we're not talking about that today. And what this does is the people who love you and want to be with you will want to love you and be with you more often because you're not so heavy. You're not so hard to be around. And again, this is just going to take sheer willpower on your part, just like getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and working out is going to take sheer willpower. So is this. You're just going to have to shut your mouth with all the complaints and put a little smile on and fake it till you make it. And probably within a few minutes, you are going to feel more happy. You are going to feel happier there. You are going to be having fun. It's just that initial kind of pushing yourself past your normal habits of not wanting to connect and feeling isolated and feeling lonely and feeling sorry for yourself, right? So you're the only one that can do this. And I think that's the hard part. Last week we had a Facebook Live about anxiety, and it's actually much easier to bring someone down out of anxiety down into a nice balanced state, but to pull somebody up from the mud and the muck and try to pull them into balance is really, really hard. And ultimately, the person who's depressed is the one who has to do it for themselves. They can ask for ropes and helplines and, make requests of people to help them, but ultimately they are the ones who have to fake it till they make it. They are the ones who have to get off the couch. They're the ones who have to get working out. And here's another big one. You need to keep busy. If you're depressed all the time and you feel like going in your room and shutting the door, that is not the answer. You need to get out and get going, get moving, interact with people, go to the park, people watch, go to the mall and people watch, be friendly, say hello to people, start talking to people. You have to get out. It's that interaction that's going to get you less self-absorbed and more into the world. And then people hopefully will interact with you in a way that gives you love and affection and confidence and kind of getting out of your little, sad party that you've been having. So again, if you have serious depression, you're going to be working with a psychologist. You're probably going to be on medication. You're going to have a lot of support to do this. It isn't like it's all sheer willpower. You're going to have to, work with somebody on a lot of this, as well as maybe a yoga therapist. However, when push comes to shove, only you can do the work. So this goes back to that idea of the Dalai Lama saying that we have this precious human life, and what are you going to do with it? Everybody's got problems. People have PTSD, people have anxiety, people have insecurities, people have grief. Everybody has these things. You're not alone. If you're depressed, you're not alone. We all have our stuff. We just don't show it to the world. And each one of us is responsible for pushing forward and getting it done anyway. And I know it's a harsh message. Last week when I was talking about anxiety, I was much more gentle. But when it comes to working with depression, we have to be a little more pitta, a little bit more fire in the equation to burn off all that heaviness. So, it's not easy. It's not easy for the practitioner to work with a depressed person, because that person is a lot of work and a lot of heaviness, and they a lot of times aren't compliant. But it's also a lot of work for the client or the patient themselves to make a commitment and make a decision that I don't want to live like this anymore. And so I'm going to go for this, and I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to stop having that glass of wine every night, and I'm going to work out every single day, Here, Anne has a great comment. Anne, I love this. In the last 2 weeks, I've quit listening to the news on my drive to work. Instead, I practice some chanting, and I'm much happier. The news cycle is so crazy. I don't care which political team is in power. The news cycle is looking for ways to, shock us, and we all feel depressed when we look at too much news. We all feel like complaining. We all feel like looking at the glass as half empty instead of half full. So I would agree with you, Anne. If anyone is having feelings of depression, the troubles of the world are overwhelming. And the best thing that we can do is really just let go of the news right now. You can't really contribute to the world until you have balanced yourself and take care of yourself. And I think, we have this excuse that we're addicted to the news and we want to help the world and somebody's got to do something. Well, the best thing that you could do is get yourself in balance and go out and do your good work in the world. And that is what's going to change the world, not watching the news and sitting around depressed and overwhelmed and overstimulated and feeling like, there's so many horrible, horrible things going on out there. Get yourself in balance and then do your good work in the world. So I agree with you. Less news equals less depression. What else? Finding meaning and purpose for yourself is really, really critical. Finding meaning and purpose. And that could be even if you decide to volunteer somewhere. Not everybody has the good fortune of having a job that gives them meaning and purpose. Some people don't have close family or friends that give them meaning and purpose. Volunteer, do something to help other human beings or animals on the earth to give yourself meaning and purpose. Get out of the house, get busy. I've said it many, many times on this podcast that if you can get out of your own mind and into the world and interacting, it's going to be much, much better for you. So how is it that you find meaning and purpose? I just think if I didn't have to work, if I could do anything I wanted to do in life and all my needs were provided for, what would I do every day? The answer to that question is how you're going to have meaning and purpose. For me, I would probably be working still in yoga. I love yoga, that's no doubt. But I would also have a strong focus in helping animals who, have been abandoned or homeless or need to be rehomed, that kind of thing. So in my later years, that is my plan after I retire, is that I'll have a big animal shelter and I'll be the cat dog lady, and that will give me a lot of meaning and purpose. So, just start thinking about what would you do if you didn't need to make any money? How would you want to contribute? And then start a little bit. You don't have to have the whole animal rescue farm today. You could just have a few cats like I do, and a dog that you found in the forest or at a gas station. Speaking of the forest, getting out in nature is huge, huge, huge for depression. If you can exercise in nature, even better. I think, as I said before, the trees, the sky, the sun, the clouds, the rain, all sorts of things that nature provides for us are so much bigger than ourselves. They take us outside of our poor little me party. And so there's something about, you just get reset once you're in nature. And I invite people to come up to the mountain and go on a hike, right? I can go right outside my door and go on a hike. There's a reason that I live here. I have had many offers to live in the city. People saying, you come to LA and live down here, your business could be so great. And I just say, no, thank you. I choose to live in the woods for a reason. And the reason is that every single day I can go outside and reset my mind and my body and my nervous system through beautiful nature. And that is one of the most important things in my life, is connecting with nature. So I know that's harder when you're in the city, but there are parks, there are ways to go hiking, there are some things you can do. As I said before, just go out at night and look up at the stars, right? Amanda's saying, ew, LA, LOL. Amanda, there's a lot of friends from Los Angeles on this call. There's things they can do. They can go to parks. They can, as I said, look up at the night stars every night, look up at the moon. There's ways to reset ourselves in nature that, almost anybody can do. What else? One of the last things I want to talk about, and I alluded to this before, but that is a change in perception. I think this acknowledgement that you don't have to believe all your thoughts, you don't have to believe all of your emotions, that you can recognize, like, oh, these glasses, they're dark. They're causing me to see the world in a way that is not reality. It's misperception. And just acknowledging that, okay, my perception isn't reality. My perception is where I'm at right now, and it's okay. But I acknowledge that I'm out of balance, and I want to do something to get into balance. We're helping with a research study. We have our chart system, our optimal state chart system. We're helping with a research study at Colorado Children's Hospital with 8 to 12-year-old girls who are doing self-harming behaviors. And we had them look at our charts to try to identify where they are mentally and emotionally. And then we were going to give them an intervention based on if they're depressed or anxious or angry. We'd give them an intervention to help the girls with some coping skills. And what we found, or what they found, was that just the awareness of, oh, I'm depressed again today. Oh, I'm depressed again today. Oh, I'm depressed again today. Or I'm anxious every day. Just that awareness of seeing where you are and checking in with yourself emotionally every day has a powerful effect on you. And it makes you want to do something. Like, oh my God, it's the 24th day in a row and I still feel like crap. Well, that's your motivation to do something. In yoga, we say that you're not going to make a change until you've hit rock bottom. It's Yoga Sutra 215 and 216. Basically says you're going to keep doing what you've always done, hoping for a different outcome, until you really, really have hit bottom. Then you're going to be willing to make a change. Then you're going to be willing to go to bed on time. Then you're going to be willing to get up and work out in the morning and quit all the processed foods and start making plans with friends and fake it till you make it with your friends and try to be a pleasant human being. And even if you don't feel like it, you just do it anyway. Right? So when you hit rock bottom is when you're going to start implementing some of these changes. It's when you're going to ask for help. It's when you're going to get a psychologist and when you're going to get a yoga therapist to help you plan your daily lifestyle practices, to help you see the world differently. Just this recognition that the yoga philosophy talks about, that we all have misperception, that we all see the world through a lens of our habits and our patterns and our childhood trauma and our adult trauma for that matter. Just the recognition that, my lens isn't clear, that my perception is off, and that I can do something about that is huge, right? It means you're no longer stuck. It means that you don't have to accept this reality of not feeling well. It means that, okay, I'm off, I'm out of balance. What can I do about that? And then go through the list that we've talked about today, getting out in nature and exercising and connecting with friends and family and all of these suggestions, as well as I said before, your mental health care provider might also have you doing some things like a gratitude list. I think, that's a great way to alleviate depression, is to look at what it is that you already have and what it is that you can be grateful for. A lot of people that I know that are depressed, it's confusing to me because they have so much. They have so much to be grateful for, and all they can see is what they don't have, right? So this is what a good yoga therapist can help people do, is to get a new perception, to get a new lifestyle routine, things that are not that hard, but people just don't know any better. They just accept depression as a way of being in the world when it doesn't have to be that way. So Amanda is in the military. She's a student from many years ago at Cal State and a beautiful writer. She says, great advice. I see a lot of depression amongst service members. There's a lot of sacrifice. But this is why I watch your live videos, to pass on the wisdom to the soldiers. Thank you, Amanda. Let's talk. I'd like to help you pass wisdom on to those soldiers. I can only imagine how much anxiety and depression people in our military have. And for them, maybe it's not a perception issue. Maybe it's the reality of the situation they're in, which is so difficult. I mean, we do have to have room for that too, that a lot of times the situation that we're actually in is very, very difficult. And how can we cope with that in spite of the difficulty of our situations, right? It's not always perception. Sometimes it is, but it's not always. So, Anne Murphy is saying, are there yoga teachings on resilience? And I think that's what yoga teachings are. I think all of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, I think all of these ancient texts are teaching us how to be resilient and how to deal with the difficulty of being human. Just as the Dalai Lama says, it's a precious human birth. I'm going to add to that, and a difficult one. It is challenging. Last night, we were out walking under the stars and under the moon with our dog, as we often do in the evenings. And I thought, damn, it's hard to be alive. Damn. And I have it so much better than 99.9% of the people. And it's still really painful to be alive most days. There's a lot going on. So I think through yoga teachings, through yoga philosophy, through yoga therapy, we do teach resilience. We do teach lifestyle management. We do teach these 2,000-year-old ideas on how you can be healthier, happier, more content, right? So I would love to see if any of you also, I've been reading some of the comments. I'm going to go back through in case I missed any, but I'm going to see if you guys have other ideas for how we can work with anxiety and depression, not just for yogis. I mean, I've kind of decided that I want to broaden out past yoga people, because a lot of people have this idea of what yoga is, and they think it's acrobatics or calisthenics. And so with these Facebook Lives, I really want to talk to the normal person and say, what are some things that you could do, even if you've never done a yoga posture in your life? What are some things that you could do to alleviate your depression, right? So to me, yoga is a lifestyle. It's a way of being in the world. It's a certain perception, a way to work with your own mind and your own heart and your own spirit. And at this point, the postures are this big compared to the rest of the pie that has all these other ways that we can alleviate things like depression. So Carol, one of my beautiful friends in Hawaii, says, if you let your challenges become your greatest allies. I love that, Carol. So kind of putting a spin on our suffering. You know, that when you feel deep, deep grief or deep, deep compassion and it's almost overwhelming and heart-crushing, that's actually could be your biggest strength or your biggest ally, as you say. That when you deeply, deeply know the suffering of others, you can help them more, right? Ashley says she loves to watch comedies and laugh. I said that last night. We were out walking and I was saying, oh, life is hard. And my husband said, what do you want to do tonight? And I said, let's watch a comedy. Now, we didn't end up doing it, but you know, just to get on Netflix and watch funny things and again, kind of get you out of yourself is so, so important. Amanda says warm baths, yes, nourishment, especially if you're depleted. As I talked about earlier, sometimes the depression is actually depletion and burnout, and we treat that a little bit differently than, you know, lethargic, heavy, unmotivated type of depression, you know. Brooke has something very interesting to say. She says, depression might indicate the need for deep rest. Yes, that's exactly what we were talking about a few minutes ago. I think it was before you got on, Brooke, we discussed that. But she says backbends and inversions can balance the physical body when in depression. Processing deep psychological issues, working out resentments, recognizing what we've suppressed. Oh, I love all these. So again, that goes back to what we talked about with getting sleep from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. That's your digestion time. That's when you process all that stuff. And getting a psychologist, as we talked about earlier. All of these, I think these deep psychological issues and working out resentments and recognizing what we suppressed, that is huge, huge, huge in terms of working through the depression. So, hallelujah, I'm with you. Brooke also says I use flower remedies like Bach flower, which I love Bach flower remedies. They also have things in, you know, doTERRA and what are some of the other oil lines that are similar. And then she says, also asking herself, what am I not expressing? Where am I not feeling heard or seen or acknowledged? I love all of those. And again, this is one of the reasons we like to work in tandem with an actual psychotherapist, because, you know, where we might be giving a yoga practice and lifestyle modification, maybe some of these deeper issues need to be done with a professional that's gone to school for 4 to 6 years in that field, has had a supervised clinical internship for 3,000 hours, has passed the state board exams. I mean, there are definitely things that we as yoga people are completely out of our scope of practice, and we definitely need to have them seeing a psychologist at the same time. So Katie says, I even sometimes have conversations with my anxiety, and you could also say with your depression. This little fly is jumping all over me. I don't know if you can see him. Sorry, dude. So Katie says, greeting it like an old friend when it pokes its little head up. Yes, and I think that that's true too. You can say to your depression, what do you want me to know? What am I not paying attention to? What am I suppressing? Where am I not happy? What's not working for me? I called my dad last night to talk to him, as I usually do when I'm having, you know, anxiety or depression or something going on. And he gave me this simple thing. He said, well, do more of what you love and you enjoy and do less of what you don't enjoy. So some of you saw on my Facebook last night, I said, what do you want more of in your life and what do you want less of in your life? It's such a simple way to look at it, but why would we do more of the things that are making us miserable, right? So increase the things that make you happy, decrease the things that make you sad, and have a conversation with yourself and figure out what those are. Anne says she loves to use laughter, and that helps her increase her endorphins. I completely agree. Amanda says remove external distractions. Absolutely. You know, figure out what you want in your life, what you don't want in your life, and get rid of the things that are distracting and not serving you. That's really hard to do because sometimes these are activities we've been doing for a long time and people don't understand when we don't want to do them anymore. Sometimes they're friendships, sometimes they're family members that are just completely distracting, and you need to have less of those in your life. So I love that. She wrote, don't get too attached. Yes, attachment will cause us suffering, absolutely. Think about what is meant for you and what is not meant for you. Being grateful for what comes to you, when it comes to you, how it comes to you, and saying, thank you, I love this, but not grasping so much that we're trying to get things that don't belong to us or are not in our karmic path. I think that's a big one, is just allowing life to unfold through you instead of trying to be so controlling and get things that aren't meant for you. They're not going to end up yours. If you try to reach too far and get things that are not meant for you, I guarantee you it's not going to work out. From personal experience, I can tell you this. Another oil company, in addition to doTERRA and Bach flower remedies, is Young Living. Thank you, Melanie. I couldn't remember the name of that one. I actually have an account with them, and I couldn't remember. So yeah, any last bits of things you'd like to say? Of course, on these Facebook Lives, this is not a one-size-fits-all. This is why we have a therapist. This is why we have a yoga therapist, because there's differences for every single person that need to be addressed. But today's goal is just to give you some ideas of things that you could do to set up your lifestyle management better. Andrea has a lovely one. She says, doing something kind and generous for someone in need usually pulls me out of my pity party. That's great, Andrea. I love that. Pulls you out of your pity party, gets the focus off you. Melanie says, the invitation to tea analogy is really helpful. I'm just going to read this. My kids struggle the most with me exploring my feelings. My middle daughter will come up to me and force a smile sometimes, and I have to tell her that all emotions are teachers, and I have to be real and honest and learn from my feelings, just like I support their emotions and feelings and behavior. Though they understand this, my children have a hard time when I'm not always laughing and smiling. I even had a coworker last week tell me others noticing if I'm not myself is a component and not a burden. So yeah, I think letting these emotions move through us is really key, so that we're not suppressing them and we're not just kind of barreling past them. And it's okay to not feel perfect every day. This is part of life, part of being human. And when we have long-term depression, and that's become the major habit and the major way of being in the world, we're going to have to fight it. We're going to have to see if there's things we can't do from this lifestyle management perspective to help us get out of that pattern, because sometimes it can just be a pattern that we've kind of fallen into. Ashley has another one. She says, spend time with your animals. The reason animals are so amazing to me is they're in the present moment. They're not thinking about 10 minutes ago. They're not thinking about 10 minutes ahead from now. They're just happy in this very present moment. And we could learn a lot from them. And if they get in a squabble with one another, they fight, and then 10 minutes later they're cuddling and they're fine, right? So being in the present moment is a big thing that we can learn from animals. Melanie adds to her previous comment, I've had so many people suffer in isolation when they aren't free to acknowledge and express their feelings and be open to sharing. Yeah, I think, it's hard to feel isolated, and I think when we're depressed is, really when we feel quite isolated. She continues on, my animals are such therapy, as are the trees, the grass, the wind, and the sun. Being with nature and animals is a healer. I'm with you, Melanie. Those are my go-tos when I'm depressed. Brooke adds, I love this, fresh flowers are shown to lower depression in women. Brooke, I don't know if you know this, but my mom was totally into flowers, and she always had fresh flowers in every room of the house from her garden. I love that. And Brooke goes on to say, peer support is different than psychotherapy. I agree. Get out there and exercise and be with your girlfriends, right? Brooks writes, it's shown to help differently than with a licensed therapist. because of the ability to share more taboo subjects without fear of punishment or reporting. I completely agree, Brooke. And it actually works both ways, that there's some things you don't want to tell your friends because you're afraid that once they know that about your spouse or your kid, that they'll judge them. And so there are some things that you might tell your therapist and not your girlfriend because you don't want to be judged, in the opposite direction, which I think is kind of interesting. Hey, have both peer support and psychological support. And then Brooke writes, finding someone with peer support training is very wise. I agree. I love people who have been trained in nonviolent communication, NVC, because they know how to give empathy. They know how to help you figure out what your feelings are. They know how to help you figure out what your needs are and really get to the bottom of the issue, what's causing you pain. So I have NVC, nonviolent communication buddies that I can call up and really get to the bottom of the feelings and the needs and what's really going on for me at the bottom of it all. All right, let's see. Katie also adds, sitting with a journal or a piece of paper and just start writing. Amazing realizations pop up. It's true. The things that are stuck deep inside of us that we don't even know are in there will come out on the paper if you allow them. And then Amanda writes, a prayer of gratitude when I prepare food and cook. And also, anytime I stop and slow down and breathe. Also, when beauty is all around me, I notice it. Great. These are wonderful. So anyway, we've got lots of ideas. Ashley adds just sometimes getting a long, loving hug or a snuggle or a cuddle or a nap together can do wonders for you to reset you also. So thank you guys for contributing to this Facebook Live. I love it when we have a whole community giving lots of ideas on how to bring ourselves back into mental and emotional balance. And last week it was, how do we pacify anxiety? Today it's how do we alleviate depression? And although these are very general guidelines, hopefully they're helpful. And I'll just end by saying that a yoga therapist can help you with a lot of this in addition to your psychologist. And there's a wonderful website called www.yogatherapy.health, which you can put in your zip code and see if you can find a certified yoga therapist near to you. The other thing I want to say is that we at Optimal State of Living, we have videos online about anxiety and depression, little workshops, like a 3-hour workshop that you can purchase off our website, www.amywheeler.com. And in addition, we have a whole mental health yoga training. So if you're a yoga teacher or a yoga therapist that would like to further your training in the area of yoga and mental health, we have a new program that's starting in January 2019. And it is a 7-month program, and I'd love to tell you more about it. So that is at www.amywheeler.com, or you can email me at yoga@amywheeler.com, and I'll tell you all about the program that we're running for yoga and mental health, which again starts in January 2019. Tina from Denmark says, I will be there and I can't wait. Yeah, Tina's coming over from Denmark to go to our training program. So makes me really happy. I can't wait to see you, Tina. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time, your attention, your love, your support, your adding to these comments. It was really lovely to spend some time with you this Sunday morning. All right, thank you. We'll see you again soon. Bye.